Good morning. I hereby call to order this ninth meeting of the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission for the year 2025. We welcome everyone joining us here in the room today, as well as those joining us on the live stream. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. At today's meeting, which is open to the public, the Commission will act on various matters. Since adequate forms have been made available for public participation in cases before the Commission, there is no opportunity for the public to address the Commission at this public meeting. The public meeting motions, statements, and video will be available on the Commission's website later today. The first matter on this morning's agenda is the approval of the minutes of the meeting of April 10th, 2025. I would like to recognize Commissioner Zerfas as the editor of the minutes. Commissioner Zerfas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have reviewed the minutes of the April 10, 2025 public meeting and move that they be approved as submitted.
You've heard the motion by Commissioner Zerfas. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved by a vote of 5-0. Turning to today's agenda, we'll start on page 1. With matters presented by Director Hafner in the Office of Special Assistance, I move that the Commission adopt the recommended opinion and order involving the informal investigation of UGI Utilities, Inc. Gas Division. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion?
Chair, I do have a, please enter my conflict statement into the record. I have a statement.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the matter is approved by a vote of 5-0. Continuing on page 1, I move that the Commission adopt the recommended opinion and order involving the informal investigation of Pocono Water Works Company, Incorporated. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Zerfas. Any discussion?
Chairman, I do have a statement.
Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you. Before us for disposition is a joint petition for approval of settlement filed by the Commission's Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement and Pocono Waterworks Company. The settlement resulted from an investigation instituted by I&E due to Pocono's systemic failures regarding meter testing. Pocono is a small water company. They have 301 customers, and they are in several townships in Wayne and Lackawanna counties. In the settlement, Pocono has agreed to test and replace 15%, approximately 45 meters per year, for the next 7 years. And it's also agreed to set up its own laboratory to test its meters or to petition the Commission for approval of a third-party laboratory to test. I'd like to use this opportunity to encourage the company and any other small water companies who are struggling to take advantage of any available Pennsylvania Infrastructure Investment Authority, PENVEST, funds to assist in the timely and adequate execution of their commitments. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the matter is approved by a vote of 5-0. Turning to page 2 on today's agenda, I move that the Commission adopt the recommended opinion and order involving the proposed default service program of UGI Utilities Incorporated Electric Division. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Yanor. Any discussion? I do have a joint statement with Vice Chair Barrow I would like to read. Before us for consideration today is a petition for relief in the form of a stay filed by Penn Renewables, LLC. Penn Renewables is seeking a stay for one component of the Commission's opinion and order dated February 20th, 2025, which approved the settlement in UGI's Default Service Program, or DSP-5, specifically related to UGI's intention to reclassify its customers based on their supply peak load impact, or SPLI. We would note that Penn Renewables' petition for relief was filed 18 days beyond the deadline for such petitions. Moreover, Penn Renewables failed to raise any new arguments in its petition instead recapitulating arguments that were already addressed. On those grounds, we would deny Penn Renewable's petition for relief on both process and the merits. However, we wanted to add one further piece of context for our decision. The first auction for default service under UGI's DSP-5 procurement schedule was held and was approved by the Commission last Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. That auction procured energy for customers classes that were defined in the settlement approved by the Commission in February. To grant a stay at this time would be highly disruptive to UGI and its customers. The legal standard for relief requested by Penn Renewables is governed by the process gas standard. 2 of the 4 prongs in process gas require showing that the issuance of a stay will not substantially harm other interested parties in the proceeding, and that the issuance of a stay will not adversely affect the public interest. In this case, with UGI already having run its first DSP auction to procure energy for default service customers, we find that issuing a stay in this case would be both harmful to other interested parties and adverse to the public interest. For those reasons, in addition to those previously stated, we find that the petition for relief in the form of a stay filed by Penn Renewables should be denied. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the matter is approved by a vote of 5-0. Continuing on page 2 of today's agenda, I move that the Commission adopt in an omnibus motion the remaining item on page 2, beginning with a formal complaint of Dontissa Wilmer versus AT&T Enterprises Incorporated, and continuing the omnibus to include both items on page 3, ending the omnibus with a petition for reconsideration filed by PA Transit Services, LLC. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters are approved by a vote of 5-0. Turning to page 4 of today's agenda, I move that the Commission adopt the recommended opinion and order involving the proposed supplemental gas tariff of Pike County Light and Power Company. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? I do have a joint motion with Commissioner Zerfus in this matter. I would ask Vice Chair Barrow to chair the meeting.
Chair DeFrank, you are recognized for purposes of your joint motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. I ask that this joint motion be entered into the record as if I read it in its entirety. Before the Commission is the petition for interlocutory review and answer to material question filed on April 10th, 2025 by the Bureau of Technical Utility Services. It seeks interlocutory review of 2 separate orders of administrative law judges, Marta Gould and Alfonso Arnold III, issued on March 26, 2025, which granted the Office of Consumer Advocate's subpoena application in both the electric and gas tariff supplement proceedings of Pike County Light and Power Company. In its subpoena applications, the OCA seeks to obtain work papers from TUS from its quarterly earnings reports, or QERs, for the years ended June 30, 2024 and September 30, 2024. The OCA alleges that the subpoena applications are necessary because Pike proposed a 10.20% return on equity in its gas tariff supplement proceeding and a 9.75% return on equity in its electric tariff supplement proceeding based on rounded ROEs from the gas and electric disk return on equity summaries set forth in the June 2024 QER. The OCA further alleges that Pike cites to the analysis of TUS in the June 24 QER without providing the documents utilized in TUS's analysis. When issuing the subpoena orders, the presiding ALJs granted the OCA's subpoena applications in an expedited manner without first ruling on OCA's request for expedited treatment. TUS's objections to the subpoena applications were filed after the issuance of the ALJ subpoena orders, but within the 10-day response period to subpoena applications, as permitted by the Commission's regulations. Accordingly, we agree that the ALJ's issuance of the subpoena orders was procedurally deficient and that the subpoena orders should be rescinded. Due to this procedural deficiency, TUS's substantive arguments contained in its objections were not addressed by the ALJs and remain pending. In its objections, petition and related supporting brief, TUS raises 3 substantive issues. First, TUS argues that the QER work papers are not relevant because the Commission determines the ROE for DISC purposes and not to substantiate a utility's request to increase rates in a rate-based filing. We conclude that TUS's work papers relating to the information and calculations in the QERs are irrelevant in the context of this rate proceeding. We note that PIC does not rely on TUS's work papers to support PIC's methodology for its requested ROE. Rather, PIC merely utilized published DISC ROE for its requested ROE. The analysis and reasoning of TUS in developing the QER is therefore not relevant to the basis for PIC's claimed ROE. Moreover, we have previously found that the DISC ROE is different from an ROE established in a base rate proceeding. We explained that the Commission determines the DISC ROE on a quarterly basis and it is industry-specific rather than company-specific ROE set in a base rate case. Additionally, the publicly released QER clearly states the ROE the Commission sets in its report is for DISC purposes. The purpose of the quarterly DISC calculations is to provide an incentive to public employees, to public utilities, to invest in their infrastructure between base rate cases, while still placing a cap on public utility over-earnings. We therefore find that for the purposes of the subpoena applications, TUS's methodology for creating DISC ROEs was not intended to serve as a substitute for the parties' positions and various calculations of formulating an ROE as part of a record developed in a base rate case and accordingly is not relevant. Next, TUS argues that its work papers are exempt from disclosure because in both the Commission's DISC ROE proceedings and PIC's base rate proceedings, TUS serves the Commission in an advisory capacity. TUS notes that the Commission's regulations regarding discovery specify that they shall not apply to materials that are the product of Commission advisory staff. TUS acknowledges that the OCA subpoena applications were not requests for the production of documents between parties, but asserts that it amounts to the same result, with the subpoena simply being the vehicle to effect discovery. Courts have found that the essence of a subpoena's function is to aid in the resolution of litigation. Courts have also found that the object of a subpoena is the production of evidence to be used before a court and not to require the production of information merely for a party's inspection or as a bill of discovery. The subpoena applications request TUS's work papers for the OCA's inspection to enable its expert witness to determine how the Commission authorized ROE for DISC purposes. Even if the information requested by the OCA was relevant, which we determine it is not, the clear purpose of the subpoena applications is to effectuate discovery on behalf of the OCA. We therefore find, under these circumstances, that issuance of the subpoenas for the production of this information from a non-party to the proceedings and a bureau that acts in an advisory capacity to the Commission is not warranted. As a final matter, TUS argues that the subpoena applications should be denied as they seek the disclosure of materials protected by the deliberative process privilege. TUS alleges that the OCA's request for its work papers extends beyond seeking purely factual information and rather attempts to examine how the Commission, which, with the advice of TUS and the Law Bureau, derive the DISC ROEs that appear in the QERs that the Commission votes on at a public meeting. As such, TUS argues that the OCA's request for its work papers implicates the deliberative process privilege, which protects the government from disclosing confidential deliberations of law or policymaking, reflecting opinions, recommendations, or advice. We agree with TUS that its work papers constitute the analysis of TUS's staff while creating a technical staff report, which informs the Commission's deliberations and final determination on the published staff report, including the DISC ROEs for each industry. Accordingly, we find that TUS's work papers or technical staff reports protected from disclosure under the deliberative process privilege. Therefore, we move that that the petition for interlocutory review and answer to material question of the Commission's Bureau of Technical Utility Services filed on April 10th, 2025, pursuant to Section 5.302A of the Commission's regulations is granted. 2, that the material question, as stated below, is answered in the affirmative. Did the ALJs err in granting OCA's request for issuance of a subpoena on TUS in order to obtain TUS's work papers to support the information and calculations set forth within the Commission's published QERs when those work papers are, 1, not relevant to underlying rate proceeding, 2, protected from disclosure by the deliberative process privilege, and 3, exempt from discovery as a product of the Commission advisory staff. 3, that the orders of administrative law judges Marta Gould and Alfonso Arnold III issued on March 26, 2025, granting the applications of the Office of Consumer Advocate for the issuance of subpoenas at docket numbers R2024-305-2357 and R2024-305-2359 are rescinded. 4, that the Office of Special Assistants drafted an opinion and order consistent with this joint motion. Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you, Chairman DeFrank. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Yanora. Any discussion on the motion?
Vice Chairman, I'm going to be concurring in result only. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I'm going to be concurring result only.
Thank you, Commissioner Yanora. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any objections? All right. On final adoption, is there any objection to using the previous roll call vote? Hearing none, the recommendation is adopted as amended by the joint motion by a vote of 5-0, noting the concurrence and result only of Commissioners Yanora and Coleman. Thank you.
Thank you. Continuing on page 4 of today's agenda, I move that the Commission adopt the recommended opinion and order involving the application of Lucky Driver LLC. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters adopted by a vote of 5-0. Turning to page 5, and matters presented by Director Diskin and the Bureau of Technical Utility Services. I move that the Commission adopted an omnibus motion, both items on page 5, beginning with the application of Horizon Power and Light LLC, and continuing the omnibus to include both items on page 6, ending the omnibus with the application of Paytech Communications LLC. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters are approved by a vote of 5-0. Turning to page 7, I move that the Commission adopt the quarterly earnings report of the jurisdictional utilities and release the report to the public. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Zerfus. Any discussion?
Chairman, I do have a joint statement with Commissioner Yanora.
Mr. Coleman.
Thank you. Commissioner Yanora and I would ask that our joint statement be entered to the record as though we read it in its entirety. We believe that the current market conditions support a modest increase in both the DISC for electric and water industries, and therefore we'll be voting no on the proposed recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman. Any further comments? I do want to address this as well. This is an issue that we've had a lot of discussion about over the years, or at least in my time here at the Commission for the last 2.5 years. It is something that the industry side has sometimes thought they've been too low. The advocate side has sometimes thought they've been too high. So we're probably, I would think, in somewhat of a sweet spot. But what we have done over the last 2.5 years, we have not overreacted. Anytime we have moved quarterly earnings statement or reports, we have moved them no more than up or down 10 basis points. And I think that consistency is important because it shows we are not going to overreact. When we see some of the market volatility occurring today, I'm very apprehensive to use ratepayer dollars to overreact to that volatility. We are keeping them unchanged in this quarter. We will continue to monitor these day by day, week by week, and in 3 months we will be voting on this issue again. And depending on how the markets move, how they react, we may be acting appropriately. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no.
No?
No.
The ayes have it, and the matter is approved by a vote of 3 to 2, noting the dissents of Commissioners Coleman and Yenora. Moving on to page 8 of today's agenda, matters presented by Chief Counsel Screven and the Law Bureau. I move that the Commission adopt the recommended opinion and order involving the notice of proposed rulemaking, order of certified water and wastewater utility acquisitions, mergers, and transfers. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Yenora. Any discussion?
Chairman, I have a verbal.
Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you. Consistent with my previous vote on this matter, I will be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. Any further comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a statement.
Commissioner Zerfus.
On the previous iteration of this rulemaking, I was a no and submitted a statement explaining why. I know some changes have been made because of some ERC comments. They don't allay my concerns. I will also be a no on this iteration and will resubmit my previous statement for the record, so please enter it as if I read it in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zerfus. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
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 The ayes have it, and matters approved by a vote of 3 to 2, noting the dissents of Vice Chair Barrow and Commissioner Zerfus. Moving to page 9 of today's agenda, and matters presented by Chief ALJ Rainey in the Office of Administrative Law Judge. I move that the Commission adopt the recommended decision of ALJ Gould approving the joint petition for revised settlement in regard to Reading Blue Mountain and Northern Railroad Company Level 3 Communications LLC and Frontier Communications CTSI LLC. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion?
Chairman,
Vice Chair Barrow.
please enter my conflict statement into the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters approved by a vote of 5 to 0. Continuing on page 9, I move that the Commission adopt the initial decision of ALJ Ashton in the formal complaint filed by Richard Murado versus Aqua Pennsylvania Wastewater Incorporated. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Zerfus. Any discussion?
Chairman, I have a statement.
Vice Chair Barrow.
Please enter my statement into the record. Before us for disposition is a formal complaint filed by Richard Morodo, alleging that Aqua inappropriately charged him for 74,230 gallons of water, which passed through his deduct meter, but did not pass through Aqua's wastewater processing system during a period starting April of 22 through March of 23. I agree with the ALJ's decision to dismiss the complaint for failure of Mr. Morodo to prove that Aqua violated its commission-approved tariff. However, the record does show that Aqua billed the complainant for usage that did not pass through its wastewater system during the period in question. They did refund a portion, but they did bill him for usage that did not pass through its wastewater system. So even though Aqua's billing is in compliance with its tariff, I do not believe it is proper for a utility to charge a customer for service that it did not provide. I implore other wastewater utilities with deduct meter customers to promptly address this issue by filing and obtaining approval for a deduct meter tariff from the Commission. That is what Aqua eventually did. There was an acquisition, their initial tariff did not include the correct provisions in the tariff, and they refiled, and they do now have the appropriate tariff. So this dispute is about the in-between in those two tariffs. So I do ask other water utilities to please take a look at your tariffs and make sure that you have the appropriate provisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the matter is approved by a vote of 5 to 0. That concludes our regular agenda. Now turning to the carrying agenda. On page 1 of the carrying agenda, I move that the commission adopt the recommendation of Executive Director Barrier to ratify the appointment of Christian Yother as the Director of the Bureau of Audits. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? I do have some comments I'd like to make. Today, the commission approves the appointment of Mr. Chris Yother as the new Director of the PUC's Bureau of Audits, effective May 10th. Chris succeeds Kelly Monahan, who in December was appointed Deputy Executive Director of the Commission. Chris is a licensed CPA and comes to the Commission after a decade of service with the Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities. While there, he conducted examinations of financial institutions, developed training programs for department personnel, and served as the department's risk control officer for its Enterprise Resource Management Initiative. In addition to his public accounting experience, Chris has held multiple auditing and supervisory roles with both the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the City of Baltimore. Chris holds a degree in professional accountancy from the Pennsylvania State University and also served in the United States Army and the Pennsylvania National Guard for 11 years. He and his wife, Jill, who's also joining us today, reside in Mechanicsburg. They are the proud parents of 3 children, Christian, Victoria, and Andrew. We trust that Chris's extensive audit background, technical expertise, and commitment to accountability and staff development will further enhance the important work of our Bureau of Audits. Chris, welcome to the Commission. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters approved by a vote of 5-0. Turning to page 2 of the carry-in agenda, and additional items presented by Director Hafner in the Office of Special Assistance. I move in an omnibus motion beginning with the proposed opinion and order involving the formal complaint of Pamela R. Scott versus the Duquesne Light Company, and ending the omnibus motion on page 3 of the carry-in agenda with the matter involving the formal complaint of David Bornstein versus the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and matters are approved by a vote of 5-0. That concludes all agenda items to be considered today. But before we adjourn, I would like to recognize Commissioner Zerfas for remarks on Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Commissioner Zerfas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What began nearly 50 years ago as just 1 week of recognition in May has now evolved into a month-long tribute to Asian American and Pacific Islander heritage. The month of May had been chosen to commemorate the immigration of the first Japanese to the U.S. in 1893 and to mark the anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869, where most of the workers who laid the track were Chinese. Of course, we use this month to recognize and celebrate so much more. This May, we recognize the more than 20 million Americans of Asian and Pacific Islander, or AAPI, descent, who make irreplaceable contributions to our society. Diversity is one of our greatest strengths, and Pennsylvania is home to more than 600,000 residents of Asian and Pacific Islander descent. During this Heritage Month, it is essential that we reflect on the impact the AAPI community has had on shaping our own state's history, economy, and culture. As we celebrate, I encourage you to attend an exhibit or event being held in your local township or city to support the contributions and achievements of the AAPI community. The State Museum is running an exhibit called Portraits of Identity, Harrisburg Asian American Pacific Islander Stories Through the Lens, which offers a window into unique experiences and contributions to Pennsylvania and beyond, and it runs through June 15th. It's a great opportunity to learn more about some of the significant people who help make up the fabric of our culture. So in closing, let's just remember to truly recognize and appreciate one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zerfas. Next, I would like to recognize our member on the Nehru Water Committee, Commissioner Yanora, for remarks on Drinking Water Week.
Thank you,
Commissioner
Chairman. This week, May 4th through May 10th, we're celebrating Drinking Water Week, which is part of an ongoing effort to increase awareness about safe drinking water across the country. This week is a unique opportunity to recognize the vital role water plays in everyday life for both professionals and communities that they serve. One way to ensure quality is investing in infrastructure today to safeguard our water resources, protect public health, and strengthen our communities against future challenges. As part of a Drinking Water Week proclamation signed by Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, the work of trained certified operators at the Commonwealth's nearly 7,900 public water supply systems are vital to providing us safe drinking water. In recognition for Drinking Water Week, the Commission renews its commitment to address challenges facing the public water supplies. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Yanora. Before we adjourn today, as we do every year, the Commissioners and I would like to recognize our 472 employees and show our appreciation for their efforts. We are incredibly proud of the Commission's recent accomplishments and grateful to all the team members who make them possible. I recently had the opportunity to join our employees in the Scranton Regional Office, where I was able to personally thank some of our motor carrier enforcement officers and pipeline safety engineers, just a handful of the talented and dedicated employees with important roles here at the PUC. You all come to work every day and fulfill the mission of the PUC to balance the needs of consumers and utilities, to ensure safe and reliable utility service at reasonable rates, and to carry out the remainder of the Commission's pivotal responsibilities. The work of our employees touches every citizen of this Commonwealth. Many are on the front lines, dealing every day with utility customers, utility personnel, and others to carry out our important mission. Your talent and reputation spread farther than Pennsylvania. When my colleagues and I attend meetings of our peers, whether at MACRUC or NARUC or other venues, we consistently hear from them about the great work our team members carry out. To all PUC employees, thank you for your work ethic, your dedication, your knowledge, your skills, and your service. If there's no other business to come before the Commission, is there any objection to adjourning today's meeting? Hearing none, we are adjourned.